If you can see this video right now, Statcast bat speed leaderboards are now available on Baseball Savant. Now, I'm recording this a few days before you're seeing it, so your leaderboard may look a little bit different from mine, but the good folks at Major League Baseball have asked me to talk about bat speed, which is interesting because I don't have any.
Oh, foolish!
And so when you click on the link in the video's description, you're going to open up this page and you're going to scroll down because your first question is going to be who swings their bat the fastest in Major League Baseball. And when you see that number one is Giancarlo Stanton, you will not be surprised. And then your second question will probably be, well, who swings their bat the slowest? That is going to be Luis Arraez. Once again, you will not be surprised. What you may not know is the scale of what is high or low bat speed relative to Major League Baseball, the same way you might know it for fastball velocity. You know if someone throws a 100-mile-per-hour fastball, wow, that's a really fast fastball. And if someone's throwing 88, it's not so fast. That's not the highest velocity. So, few good things to know. Giancarlo up here at 80 miles per hour, that's the absolute top of the line. And then if you go down here, you'll see the average is about 72 miles per hour. And the bottom of the range is Luis Arraez at 62 miles per hour in terms of their average bat speed on what they call competitive swings. The first thing I'm struck by looking at this leaderboard is the massive gap between Giancarlo Stanton and everybody else. Giancarlo Stanton, 80.6 miles per hour average bat speed. Second place, O'Neal Cruz, 77.6. So that's a 3 mile per hour difference between first place and second place. That is the same as the difference between second place and 28th place, Tyler O'Neill. And of course, given his power, given his reputation, given his frame, it's no surprise that this truly is the fastest bat swing in Major League Baseball today. And what's scary is that Giancarlo Stanton is 34 years old, and he's been through a lot of injuries, so it could stand to be reasoned that 5, 6, 7 years ago, he was swinging the bat even faster on average, but unfortunately, there's no way to actually know that because this data will only begin in 2024. Down to the bottom of the bat speed leaderboard here, I want to make a pretty important point about Luis Arraez down here at 62.4. And you might just say, Luis Arraez, no pop, no juice, contact hitter. But I guess the point that I'm really trying to make is bat speed in a lot of cases is a choice. It's a mix between how hard you can swing a bat at max effort and how hard you really want to swing the bat in order to ensure the right mix of contact quality and contact quantity for what you're trying to do. And obviously, it goes without saying, Giancarlo Stanton and Luis Arraez are both fun hitters to watch, but they're trying to do different things. Could Luis Arraez swing the bat harder, faster, better, stronger? Yes, he could. He absolutely could, but then he'd probably make less contact, and then he wouldn't really be Luis Arraez anymore. He'd be somebody else. Moving over to the next column, we have the fast swing rate. Fast swings are denoted as swings over 75 miles per hour. So these are percentage of competitive swings that are over 75 miles per hour. And the reason they landed on this number is pretty clever, but also pretty simple. So I mentioned the league average bat speed is about 72 miles per hour. The league average bat speed for a home run is 75. So a home run swing on average is 75 miles per hour. That's why 75 is the cutoff for a fast swing. The next column over here is a little more interesting to me, and that is squared up. So each swing velocity has a corresponding maximum possible exit velocity. If I swing my bat, you've seen the clip already. If I swing my bat 45 miles per hour, I can only hit the ball so hard. Even if I squared up beautifully, there's a max exit velocity to that, and that goes for every, swing that a major leaguer takes, which is much faster than mine. And so what this shows, squared up shows, is the percentage of swings that get within 80% of that maximum possible exit velocity based on the swing velocity. And really, no matter how you sort it, there are some common names that jump out, and the ones that jump out to me, we talked about Luis Arraez already, but here's Juan Soto, and this is what's so fun about this, is you can see players that have a major difference in their bat speed, but the commonality they have is that they're able to reach the maximum exit velocity for their bat speed, or at least within 80% of it, consistently. And then next over is blasts, and blasts are simply squared up, plus you have to swing 75 miles per hour. So when I swap to blasts, you will see Luis Arraez disappears because he's not going to be swinging 75 miles per hour, and you see the high average bat speed guys jumping out at you. Now, if we scroll up here, there's a very nice scatter plot full of very nice faces, and you can see sorted along the x-axis is your average bat speed, so as we move left to right, average bat speed, and then as we move up and down, it is that squared up. So we can see, here's Luis Arraez, he squares the ball up, but he doesn't swing hard. Giancarlo Stanton, he swings hard, but he doesn't always square the ball up, and generally this is where you're going to want to be in the top right. And Juan Soto, extremely impressive, but I also can't help but be impressed by William Contreras. I think William Contreras is a player who, when you explore this leaderboard, you will be impressed by what he does. So who am I personally impressed by on this leaderboard, just looking at the average bat speed again? Well, Christopher Morel at number 6, and obviously, look, we know he has some thump, we know he has some power, we know he has a nice, big, violent swing, but it's surprising to see him at 6 ahead of Aaron Judge, ahead of Julio Rodriguez, ahead of Yordan Alvarez. Like, I'm very impressed by that for Christopher Morel. Scrolling down here, I will admit, I'm a little taken aback by Corbin Carroll at 74.4, the same as his teammate Christian Walker, because Corbin Carroll, you know, he's not the biggest guy. He hasn't necessarily, you know, put up the craziest barrel rates or anything like that, but this shows that there is power potential within that bat. He hit 25 home runs last year. He's off to a slower start this year, but you know, with bat speed like this, you wouldn't be surprised now if he goes out and has a 35 homer season at some point. So I was impressed by this. A good look for Corbin Carroll, I think, especially considering some of the worries and doubts about his shoulder this year that he's able to do that. Wilyer Abreu at number 39 stood out to me because just looking at the top bat speed guys in general, so many of these guys I feel were really hyped prospects at some point, and that's because I think you can use the eye test on bat speed, and there is some correlation with the eye test here. You're seeing guys, then you're like, yep, I have watched them with my eyeballs, and I do believe they can swing the bat hard and fast, and they hit the ball hard and fast. But Wilyer Abreu, kind of an outlier here because he was never a super duper hyped prospect, and yet you can see in terms of the bat speed, which again is going to correlate with power, you know, more than Matt Olson, right? More than Teoscar Hernandez. Like, those guys have serious pop. So to see Wilyer Abreu ahead of them, good look for him. Another one at 54 here, Brett Beatty, I'm impressed by, and it's kind of the similar story with Carroll. It's good to see, you know, someone who maybe hasn't always put up the best barrel rates in their short major league career, maybe hasn't even always put up the best average exit velocities, and yet when you see them doing well in terms of Brett Beatty here, he's in, like, you know, the top 25% of players by bat speed, you think to yourself, hey, this guy has some pop at the big league level that is yet to be unlocked, and that's exciting. It'll definitely be interesting to see how we can use this now public bat speed information to apply to player analysis and, you know, trying to anticipate certain big seasons or breakout seasons or the potential of players, particularly for power. And, you know, if you came to me at the start of the 2024 season, right, and you said, Bailey, I have a fantasy draft coming up, tell me the guys who are going to slug, tell me the guys who are going to hit home runs, I would say, okay, great. Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani are going to slug and they're going to hit home runs. And you're going to say, Bailey, that's great. I'm sure that's totally true, but those guys have already slugged and hit home runs. I need to know guys who haven't necessarily slugged and hit home runs, or maybe will slug more and hit more home runs. So, you know, that's great that you can look at their past slugging percentage, but what other information can you use to convey the potential of someone to slug in the future? And at that point, you might look at something like exit velocity, right? Like, how hard are you hitting the ball? How consistently are you hitting the ball hard? You know, launch angle, things like that. And so you might come to the conclusion, hey, what about, you know, Gunnar Henderson? Or what about William Contreras? I just went to the Statcast leaderboards, and these are the guys who hit the ball hard, so maybe they'll hit a bunch of home runs this year. And that would be good information as well, but then you come back to me and say, you know, the guys who play in my fantasy league, they're sharp. You know, they know about average exit velocity. They're going to go in there. They can figure out those guys with that power potential. What's the next step, right? What is the step that's going to predict average exit velocity? What's the step that's going to predict barrels? That's going to be bat speed, right? Bat speed is just the next in line in terms of predicting those things, and I'm going to say look for the guy with the high bat speed. The same way you might ask yourself, okay, what stats can I use to predict how often a player will get on base? I might say, look at their strikeout rate and their walk rate, and they say, that's great. What can predict their strikeout rate and their walk rate? The answer would be their contact rate and their chase rate. I kind of view bat speed along those lines. It's the predictor for the predictor. And speaking of contact, I do want to get into swing length because I'm sure you've heard scouts talk and use terms like, that guy, he has a long swing or he has a short, compact swing, and it's good to see that spelled out through this bat tracking technology in an easy to digest way. So you can see the players with the long swings, Javi Baez, Stanton, Michael Harris II, and generally as you just look at the names on here, you're not going to see the highest contact rates. These guys, they have big, long swings, and then the more compact swings, you are going to see a higher rate of contact. These guys make a lot of contact per swing. Look at Luis Arias once again. Look at Verdugo. Look at Justin Turner. Look at Stephen Kwan. Look at Nolan Schanuel. These are the guys who make a lot of contact per swing generally. Now, what I like to see and what is a nice profile for me to look at are guys who have a short swing length but a pretty good average bat speed. These guys don't necessarily need the biggest windup, the most moving parts to generate power, to generate thump. That's Lamont Wade Jr., that's Corey Seager, that's his teammate Wyatt Langford, that's Ke'Bryan Hayes, that's Colton Cowser, that's Bobby Witt Jr., that's Corbin Carroll again. These guys are impressive to me in that regard. Another bucket of players I've enjoyed looking at with this leaderboard are players who have a higher fast swing rate, so a higher rate of swings over 75 miles per hour, compared to how they stand within their average bat speed. So these are the guys who are going to see a wider range of swing speed in general, and I like that because I think that means, maybe they'll shorten it up and they'll swing a little slower on 2 strikes, but they were also ready to uncork on a baseball when they see a pitch that they really like. And one player that really stood out for me in terms of this was Harold Ramirez of the Tampa Bay Rays. I was surprised by that. He's about, in the top 33% for a fast swing rate, despite being slightly below average in terms of average bat speed. So that was kind of fun to see. Jose Caballero could definitely be this. Freddie Freeman could definitely be this. Jose Altuve and Mookie Betts were a couple others who came up. There they are at 149 and 152 in terms of the fast swing rate. And yet, if you were to sort by the average bat speed and look for Altuve and Betts, you will see them at 187 and 178 respectively. So the point is, those guys, when they see the pitch they like, they can unleash that 75 mile per hour or higher swing and hit a home run. But if not, they're going to take their time and try to make their contact. And then I guess finally the last thing I should mention is swords. So they can measure what is the pitching ninja definition of a sword through this bat tracking technology. And you can see who has the most swords this year. It appears to be Zach Neto for the Angels. But if you look at the other qualities of these hitters and maybe how good or how bad they are or how much power they have or how often they square up the ball, you're not going to find a ton of correlation here. It's just more like a fun inclusion on the leaderboard. Oh, here's the guys who haven't sorted at all. Here they are. But my point is, I don't really think this is going to be useful in terms of analyzing a player. I think it's just going to be sort of a fun, gimmicky thing to have on the leaderboard. And I don't hate it. I'm just saying it's swords, And to those of you that don't know what a sword is, it's this type of swing. It's basically when you fail to hold up on a check swing, and it looks more like you are chopping a sword than swinging a baseball bat. Well, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the Statcast bat tracking leaderboard. It was really cool to get, a sneak peek, early access at what you all can now see, and I hope my thoughts were helpful in some way. So big thank you to the folks at Major League Baseball for sending this over. I had a lot of fun with it, and I will be very quick with the sponsor here right at the very end. SeatGeek, code FOOLISH, $20 off. Do it. Or don't, but you'll get $20 off tickets. It's great.